We are the Bookfest Club, and I am your co-host, Jules. I'm joined by none other than my co-host, Jay. Our third co-host, Key, isn't with us this episode. She's celebrating her birthday, right?
Happy B-Day.
Hey, birthday behavior. Want to send out a special shout out to Key. Enjoy your day, Queen. Salute.
Yes, enjoy.
What's up, Jay? What you doing, man? How's life, man?
Chilling, man. We both, if we sound a little different, y'all, that's because we're both suffering. I got
my little blanket here, man, and everything, man.
You got the 5-day bug that you got to wait to get rid of. I'm sitting here with a whole sinus infection. But today we said we still got to work, right? We still got to put the work in.
We still got to put the work in, bro.
You know what I mean?
How's
going live
and everything?
How you feeling?
Hey, man, just like you said, getting over this controversial thing that doesn't exist according to certain political candidates, you know?
Let's talk about it.
And so, but today we talking about a controversial issue in the bookish community, man. Controversial topic.
Yep.
And we're getting into the misconceptions of urban fiction. There's a lot of myths out there. There's a lot of misconceptions, misnomers out there, stigmas, if you will, surrounding the urban fiction genre. And we're talking about that stigma, that disrespect, that criticism, that double standard, even, double standard. Oh my God, double standard attached to a genre that has, I believe, captivated readers for years. Why do some people call it trash? Why do some people call it low brow, toxic, dangerous? While others see it, myself included, I believe you as well. Yep. I think I can speak for you. See it as honest, see it as gripping. We come from similar backgrounds that are depicted in this genre. I feel like a lot of times it's culturally relevant. They're talking on issues that are in, current events. Is urban fiction, this is a question for the team. Is urban fiction being fairly critiqued, or is it being unfairly dismissed?
I think in some cases, right? Not all, but some cases, it's being fairly critiqued. Because we got to be honest, right? You have some urban fiction authors who just, they just don't write. They just don't, not saying that they're bad writers, but they be writing some crazy things in books.
Right.
Even the titles. I sent you one the other day about like my pastor came back as a booty bandit with a BBL. Like,
with a
bro,
BBL.
like, what are we?
Crazy.
And then me and you, we went through that night on live when we was getting all of these book, recommendations and all of these things. So it's like, yo, if you're gonna be, you gotta be serious in these spaces, right? And I feel like there's no fantasy out there that's looking that got crazy sounds like that. Not that I know of, but but then the other part about it is there are great world building urban fiction writers like Jaquel J, Nisa Santiago that I like. And it's like, and then I know it's other ones out there.
There's a ton.
So right,
going all the way back to Sister Soldier,
Kawan, right? Sister Soldier,
Kawan,
you know what I'm saying? Eric Jerome Dickey, Zane, but it's more erotica, but it's still, urban fiction erotica
still
to me.
Underneath that umbrella,
right? So I feel like it's a place for both in the critique, but I just wish that, we'll get into New York Times. I understand why they're not at the height of, like a fantasy book, but then if you're not even reading it or giving it the time and the thought, then how are you judging it?
You're right, because I've read some fantasy that is crazy and have similar, if not more, graphic scenes in it than, these
Absolutely.
scenes that I'm reading in urban fiction. Question, why do you think urban fiction gets judged differently from other genres that also contain sex, violence, crime, betrayal, like moral chaos? Why do you think it gets judged differently?
Magic, pure magic. If it's not surrounding magic or mythical beast or realms or fantasy lands, or if it's not in another time zone, in another world, and we're not in Galilea, or we're not in what is it? I can't even remember the fourth wing. If we're not at Basgayev, because they in college and they effing all over the place, right? If you're not in Crave world, where they're in the sky twirling around, kissing and doing all of this, making out in high school. It's okay
in high school,
right? It's okay when it's
describing his genitalia and how it's thrusted. Like, These are high school students.
Right.
Like,
but
what are we?
how it sounds, how it comes off to the ear, or how it comes off when you're listening to audiobooks, or how the words come off the page, it's a difference when we say it, because we're more vulgar with our language. When it's the same thing, it's just washed down. And then to me, it ain't really washed down, because they say the private areas as well.
Real talk.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he released into me. Like, what is the difference between he released into me but he busted me? Like, it's all the same thing, brother.
It is, man. Aspect. I feel like urban fiction gets criticized for being too real by people who praise realism everywhere else, right?
Keyword.
They're seeing it in other books. We're not even going to go to the big screen right now. We're not even going to go to the small screen. We're not going to even go to TV. We're not even going to go to social media. But they praise realism everywhere else except for in this genre. When it takes place in this genre, but think about urban fiction, right? And some of the biggest blockbuster movies. I feel like Friday could have been a book before it was a movie. And we see how iconic and what's the word did you call it? A cult following that it has garnered over the years, but I just feel like urban fiction gets criticized for being way too real, but they praise realism everywhere else. Some people don't hate the content. I feel like they hate the content creator.
Woo, come on now.
I feel like they're hating the
Say it.
If it looks like a fish, swims like a fish, it gotta be a fish, right? I feel like we can't have this conversation without having a conversation surrounding just like racism, man, and racism that's in the industry, bro. It's like the Eminem conversation. Does Eminem get this much attention? And Eminem is an amazing rapper. Artist. He's an amazing artist. I don't want to communicate that. I want to be mindful of that. However, does he get the same attention if he's black?
This has been the topic that's brought up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of saying this about this issue. Like, does urban fiction gets this attention if it's white authors writing this? Right?
Of course.
It's probably going to be put up on a whole, you know what I'm saying? It's going to get the Eminem attention if it's a white, like, I'm just saying. So, man, urban fiction, I feel like it didn't create the struggle. It just describes the struggle, and I feel like the book world don't want to dive into our world. They want to put their blinders on, right? Their earmuffs on, so they could continue to be oblivious to what's going on in these parts of the world. I'm not going to even say Black America. I'm going to just say in these parts of the world.
Do you know this dude? I was reading an article from the New York Times for, his name was Bryce, what was his name? Bryce Ventura. It was like Bryce Ventura is an Afro-Latino writer for the New York Times. And he put in his article that you're looking at maybe 5 to 15 authors total who he has found that have reached the New York Times best-selling list for urban fiction, for the genre.
You said 5?
And this was written in 2024. There ain't been 5 to 15 authors. There's no real record. They have notable ones, like he says, Eric Jerome Dickey, and Sister Soldier for New York Times. Now, there's other people like Zane, and Zane as well. Those are the 3 notable ones that he said, but we know why Zane was, because it was a whole TV show. We know Sister Soldier's impact. These ain't just regular. We know Eric Jerome Dickey. In his article, he was talking about the household names weren't noticed from their books, but for their movement, right?
Wow.
It wasn't from their books, it's for their movement. When you think of Sister Soldier, she's rap referenced, right? And even then, she became, he wrote it. He said the coldest winter ever became a cultural classic. But later on, after everything was said and done, that's when she received chart success. In multiple New York Times bestsellers. But guess where he was at? The urban erotica lane, not urban fiction, according to urban erotica lane, which garnered after the success came after the TV show. Not knowing that it was already books. I used to watch Zane at 1 a.m. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Throw the cover over the TV so your moms couldn't hear it, because I had the TV with the fat butt. That's the big TV. Throw the cover. Facts. Throw the cover over the TV. Turn it down. Facts. Turn the TV down and get to work. You feel me? 1 a.m. sleep. Like, 1:30, I'm out like this.
I remember Zane books having the ladies in a headlock when I was deployed overseas. Man, they was like, "Yo, Jules, have you read the Zane?" I was like, "Nah, I ain't got to the Zane, man." But
so it's like when you go to 5 to 15, that is a crazy. There's been 15 authors in the past 2 years that released New York Times best-selling books, and they're fantasy writers, bro. So you mean to tell me in all of this book space, this is what we came up with? So I just was like, that's an insane stat right there from that editor or writer, whatever you call it, reporter.
Wow, man. Hey, I feel like this is an issue that we want this to be a discussion in the bookish community as far as just the stigmas that are over there. Let's talk about like the double standard, right? Is there a double standard for this genre? Like many mainstream genres include murder, they include sex, they include greed, betrayal, organized crime, morally broken characters. Man, they have it. We've read a lot of thrillers as well with we just leave it at that. We're not going to name an author, but we read many thrillers, and there's morally broken characters in these thrillers, right?
Absolutely.
Man, I know, just even on TV, when we talk about just in other areas and just that realism showing up in other areas, I think about The Sopranos, right?
Yep,
where there's countless scenes that take place in Bada Bing, which is a strip club in the TV series. And like, you see these mafia stories, you see these crime dramas that are on the big 3 channels, right? What gets called gritty and compelling in one genre seems like it's being called ghetto and toxic in another.
Excuse me.
Is there a double standard, bro?
Absolutely. It's a big double standard, because even when you was talking, I'm thinking about the fantasy deaths are amazing, right? Fantasy deaths are amazing. When Liam died in Fourth Wing, it was amazing. It was amazing, it was heart-wrenching. People felt it. He still got killed. He got murdered. Yeah. Let's be honest. But if Naheem, God bless this angel of a man, if Naheem gets shot up, right?
You about to make some folks.
If Naheem gets shot up, oh, it's urban. We can't care about that. But this guy was in Bass Guy War College, and it's okay for him to get killed off, right?
It's honorable.
But it's honorable. You know what I'm saying? It's honorable. But over here, because it was a shooting, and it was a shooting in an urban community,
it's trash.
And I don't get that. The deaths is still the same. What categorizes different deaths in these books? You know what I'm saying?
There's a stigma out there. There's a stereotype that's out there that's what they do. And so let that be their genre. I feel like they look at the urban fiction genre the same way that the radio stations and the Billboard charts and the Grammys, right? The same way they looked at hip hop back in the 80s.
Oh, big. They wasn't
It's nothing of value.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's why when an author comes on the Bookfest Club, right, we got to give you your flowers.
Absolutely.
Because your pen game is just as good as the New York Times bestsellers, in my opinion.
Facts.
They're just as good. They resonate with the community that they're trying to target, right? I feel like that pen doesn't have to assimilate to be relevant.
Yep.
It don't. Like, and so,
and
man,
then
Jay,
even that, I feel like, you're right. The biggest truth is, number one, distribution bias, right? Many urban fiction books are sold through independent authors, independent bookstores, and now we're coming up to the big leagues. We're coming up to the Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
But let's go on Barnes and Nobles, go on Books A Million, and see how many urban fiction books you can really get in there. You're not gonna find the best. You're not gonna find the most, right? So they're being sold through independent publishers and basically you still could go hand to hand on the street with the books. And that's insane. You got authors who still go hand to hand, bro, selling their books out the back of their trunk because Barnes and Nobles and Books A Million, all these big bookstores, they not putting their books in there. So what you got to do? You got to go to independent book places, right?
Book places, yeah. You got to go to places like Resist Books in Petersburg, Virginia.
Or you go to these, now a lot of things is coming up with book boutiques. So now you got to go to these book boutiques where these authors are sending these books. And that's one of the things, is like distribution biases is not helping authors. And they've been targeting, Jay. They've been talking about that with Target. And, Target not having certain people books. Ladarion Williams, who is a New York Times, USA Today best-selling author, instant, had issues with Target. I believe it was either Target or some place he had an issue with. So it's like, even when it comes back to it, what are we talking about? Are we talking about race? Or are we talking about work?
Man, that's powerful, bro. I'm just saying that, when they do crime stories, we're gonna figure out who they are. But when
Right.
they do crime stories, it's prestige.
Right.
When we do a crime story, it's a problem.
Oof.
One genre gets called cinematic, right?
A
The
beautiful
other
story.
gets called just chaos, right? There's just
Chaos
chaos
in a
over there,
world of hooligans
right?
and all
Yeah,
misfits.
yeah, exactly. They call it dark and daring when it's distant, and it's dangerous when it's black. Let's just say it, man. Let's just call it what it is, man.
But even publishing, I feel like there's publishing gatekeeping. Traditional publishers who dominate bestseller lists historically haven't prioritized urban fiction authors in their work. It's just as simple as that. And I'll say it again. Traditional publishers who dominate the bestsellers list, right? New York Times, USA Today, wherever you want to get your stuff from, they haven't prioritized urban fiction as a big plot in the joint. It's like you say with the Grammys, right?
Facts.
With all of these different subgenres in the Grammys when it comes to rap now, and it was a problem a couple of years ago. It's the same thing with the book, bro. It's gatekeepers in every form of fashion, and it's not going to change in the book. It's not going to change even if it's in the book space.
I think you touched on something when you talk about these publishers because, I'm thinking about the impact of literacy and the impact of just cultural value of urban fiction. Urban fiction has been shown to engage readers who often feel alienated from traditional reading. So here you are cranking, like you said, cranking out all these titles, right? That aren't urban fiction because they got the volume. They got, means of production where they could crank out, thousands of titles, but none of them reflect these readers who feel like alienated, like when they're going to talk about something that I can relate to.
Exactly.
Right. And so like for some readers, this genre could be looked at bold type, underlined, italicized some. For some readers, this genre is a literacy dead end. And I get that.
But let's go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
No. It's a literacy dead end. They don't see any literacy value in it. But for others, and I feel like even for those, it's a gateway. It's a gateway though. It invites people into books through relevance, through familiarity and voice. And when we talk about a topic that you're passionate about, which is Black men reading, could this be a gateway, right? Could this be just a relevant entry point, access point into getting men to read more, bro? And I know that's a heart for mine. I know that we interview the owner of Resist Books, and he mentioned that in the interview. If y'all haven't seen that interview, go and check out that interview with our guy Demetrius. Man, he talked about his heart is to see more men, more Black men get into reading and connect with reading, regardless of how it happens. Like if it happens through urban fiction, it happens.
Can I be honest?
Go ahead.
Can I be honest? Right?
Please do.
I'm gonna look these guys in the camera because me and my boy, we not in it for that. But I'm telling you, if I would have knew, no, I ain't even gonna say that because I got mines, right? But what I'm saying is, growing up, we didn't have that in the space. The females that I dated before, sorry, y'all was all hood boogers, right? Neighborhood hood boogers. I'm sorry, it is what it is, right? Whatever. I was a neighborhood hood booger. That don't negate. But guys, y'all complain about these girls going out in the clubs and doing all of this stuff. It's a lot of females out there in these book spaces going to these book events. You know what I'm saying? So if you looking for a different type of female, one that loves to read and can put you on to some fire recommendations, that's where you need to go. So Black men need to read, and there is a bonus in reading. You know what I'm saying?
There's a community out there.
There's a community for you out there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all complaining, oh, these girls in the club, well, guess what? It's a bunch of girls that you don't even know exist, my brother.
Hey, listen.
Because your head ain't in the right space.
It's two places you need to go find your lady, right? There's church. There's church. That's one. Go find your church girl, right? And then the second place is these book circles, man. These book clubs, bro. Go find you an educated lady who can really put some words around some thoughts and ideas, and y'all can have an intellectual conversation between each other. You know what I'm saying? And talk about some issues apart from the hookup and making you where you. I feel like books help you make more of your relationship. And here's why. I remember when my wife and I we recording, and one of the things that we did, it was long distance relationship for 4 years, long distance relationship, and I would be in Kansas, she would be in Tennessee or Virginia, and we had to connect, right? We had to find ways to really stimulate one another intellectually. And one of the ways that we did that was just plowing through books, man.
Right.
And that way I really got to explore her mind and get the best part of her as opposed to just focusing in on when the next time I'm a hit, you know what I'm saying? Because that wasn't even a part of our relationship, you know?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I think that this is a way that we can connect deeply, just like the genre connects deeply with readers. Why do you feel like this genre connects deeply with readers, man? Because we're starting to see a movement, bro.
Yeah, and I feel like with the movement of social media and being able to see your book out there more and the power of promotion is going through social media, I feel like it's often associated with our life. It's a lifestyle. We've lived this life for most of us, right? That read urban fiction for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part, we grew up in these spaces. And to even listen to an amazing author, USA Today's bestseller, Jaquel J, listening to her books, right? Or reading her books and growing up in that space, I can visualize everything around it because I've been in these places. I've been at these places. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I get more of a visual aspect because I'm visualizing Amy crossing over Linden Boulevard because Linden Boulevard got that lane that's closer to Pink House Projects and then the other lane that's closer to Lynn. So I can visualize when everything is happening and it brings a sense to me. You know what I'm saying? So I think the connectivity portion of urban fiction is one of the big reasons why I love it.
Man, that's powerful, bro.
The romance is showing us when this urban fiction stuff, you said it on the last pod, the romance of everything is helping us, you know what I'm saying, connect better.
Notice what he's saying. He's not saying the sex. He's not saying the graphic, like he's saying the romance part of it. Like, and that's why I feel like going back to Jaquel's Delgado series character, Naheem, I feel like when I look back at him, he gets bashed a lot, man. He gets a bad rep. But I wonder if anybody ever taught Naheem how to be romantic, or how to love. Like, did anyone really show him how to love? You know, it's one thing getting fellatio in the front seat of a car, right? But like, do you know how to love your woman, man? Like, do you know how to do you know how to be romantic? Do you know how to woo her? Like, ain't talking sexual. Do you know about non-sexual touch? Like,
absolutely.
For real. And so, man, I feel like this conversation, as we land this plane, man, as we get out of here, we don't want to talk your head off, but this conversation matters, right? This conversation is bigger than the genre itself. And I want Jay to speak to that. Before he do, I want to just give my piece on why I feel like this conversation matters, because the debate around urban fiction, I feel like it reveals a bigger tension around race and class and morality and who gets literary respect. We just interviewed an amazing, groundbreaking author.
Shout out to Jaquel J,
who is taking over the next generation.
Absolutely.
And I say the next generation because she got TikTok on lock. Let's be clear.
Absolutely.
For real. And so, I mean, like, she's winning the Gen Zers. She's winning the Gen Alphas. You know what I'm saying? Millennials are just, you know what I'm saying? She got the millennials on lock. And so I feel like it's just not about books. It's about cultural legitimacy. Jay, why does this conversation matter?
Because the bottom line is, and I'm going to be so real, the bottom line is urban fiction didn't fail to break through because of lack of talent or lack of audience. I feel like because the audience is big. You know, we've seen a repost from an author what it can do. So it's not the lack of talent, because we have the talent and we have the audience, especially in this day and age with Bookstagram, BookTube, BookTok, Threads. Everywhere you can go, you can get some book content now. It's being held back by industry bias, marketing limitation, branding challenges, and structural barriers in publishing. It's just as simple as that. And the masses are gatekeeping. I personally feel like that. Now, maybe a lot of authors haven't, but why haven't we had that New York Times bestseller yet? Then maybe I'm ill-informed, but I haven't seen none. Maybe there might be one. And I mean, urban fiction is where it stands. Don't give me the urban erotica. I'm talking about the urban fiction. Don't give me the urban romance. I want to know urban fiction, the actual title. So for me, that's just my bottom line right there, bro.
Man, that's good. That's good. I'm just wondering what conversations are being had in these back rooms, in these conference rooms, you know.
Because these fantasy authors be dropping some instant, you get an instant New York Times, because there's another thing too, right? We don't even get the 12 o'clock releases. You don't even give us an opportunity for the 12 o'clock midnight. You know what? I'm not going to go on a tangent, bro. That's for another episode, my brother. That's for another episode.
That part, man. I just feel that, man, closing statements about this whole conversation, I want there to be more. You know, I hope that even on this pod, that this is the first of many conversations surrounding the stigma of, you know, surrounding urban fiction. What I also know is that literary respect has never been handed out equally. And so we're going to have to fight for respect in this genre. I'm gonna keep it a band. Like, this isn't a genre that I started out reading. I started out, you know, a lot of my friends started out reading like Iceberg Slim books and whatnot, but that wasn't my deal. I like leadership books. I like learning about how to lead and, you know, improve my leadership. And so, but in order for this, you know, genre to get the respect that it deserves, you know, we're gonna take it by force, man. For real.
Absolutely,
we're gonna have to force them to look at us, just like a Ryan Coogler. You gotta force the Academy. We gotta force New York Times bestsellers. We gotta force USA Today, you know, in these, you know, surprise, you know, has an urban fiction author won a Pulitzer Prize? Like, I'm just wondering, like
I have no,
like,
and that's
just because it's in our vernacular. Because I feel like it's not in assimilated vernacular, you know, it's vernacular of African descent or Black vernacular that, you know, they dismiss the whole work as trash. And I just hope that this episode will help fight against that, man. And I know, you know, this is just a drop in the bucket of the large conversation, but man, we just wanted to have it, bro.
I got you, brother. But until we listen, listen, man, I just can't wait, man. We got a lot of things coming, man. Like, it's going to be,
bro.
These are just talks, man. These are just talks because this is important. This is an important piece of what we're doing. You know, we're bringing light to certain things, and we know it might not be well received with some people, but it is what it is because it's happening. If it wasn't happening, we wouldn't be having these conversations. And a lot of y'all think that these things don't happen behind closed doors, but they most definitely do. But we ain't going we gonna speak on it and say our mind, man. But until next time, I'm your boy Jay the Speaker. You got Jules the Architect and Key the Reader. Happy birthday, La Queen. We'll see you soon on the next pod, man. Peace.